Hi, today as part of our Business Spotlight program, I'm with Ed Murphy. He's the founder and CEO of GreentechHQ, and he's also a serial entrepreneur. So over to you, Ed. What is it you do, and for how long have you been doing it?
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Mm.
Kevin, in setting up just a latest venture is GreentechHQ, HQ, which is an innovation hub focused on sustainability here in Wexford in the southeast of Ireland. The reason I set it up is I'd spent 40 years away from home, which is Wexford, and came home and decided on a pro bono basis to set up this non-for-profit organization to help startups, scale-ups, and companies in this area to grow and develop their businesses and hopefully create a more prosperous society where I come from. And that's GreentechHQ. We're very much focused on sustainability. We've attracted, offshore wind companies, solar companies, energy efficiency companies, whatever. So it's a hub and it's a landing place and it's a startup place and it's an incubation place for businesses in this region. And I'm looking forward to hopefully developing new businesses, helping scale businesses, and actually helping attract businesses from overseas and other parts of the world to this region and create worthwhile jobs. So that's what GreentechHQ is. I also have a home care company, Platinum Home Care, and Platinum Home Care is providing home care to older people to help them continue to live in their homes for longer than otherwise possible. So they're the two companies I have at the moment, but I've came back after having run a number of different companies in different parts of the world, but mainly in Dublin over the last number of years, like Snap Printing, like Home Instead Senior Care, like CEX, which is a retail franchise, like Hunters Express fitness gyms. But mainly they were in the franchising area that bought franchises from different parts of the world and set them up here in Ireland. But yeah, it's been fun over the last number of years.
Fantastic. Very varied there. Very, very, very active, Ed, in fairness. That's great. And well, I don't know if this is you've been growing obviously all these different businesses. What would you attribute the growth in these businesses to? Where?
Uh, Look at for me when starting a business, you start with a business. To me, I would always start and grab a business and systemize it, put a good structure on it, bring in the right partners, bring in the right teams. Obviously, one of the things you always look at is, the business that you have or the product you have or the service you have. You always look, is there a marketplace for it? What problem are you solving? Who are you solving it for? Can they afford the solution? Who's going to pay for that solution? And so I suppose I have different ways of looking at the potential of a business and whether it's worthwhile or not worthwhile and whatever. But to me, I love a business that I can get and I can systemize, structure it properly, put in the right. Then once you have that, you can put in the right partner, the right team, put in the right sales and marketing process, and drive it on.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's very much in line with what we do in Action Coach. Yeah, fantastic. Um, well, you probably cover this a bit, but if you had to start from square one in business, going back that whatever 40 years, what would you do differently?
Um, I'd probably, in any business I was looking at, I'd probably do a little better due diligence than I've done sometimes in the past. And and genuinely taking the idea of the business you were in, Action Coach, but genuinely I would hire or have on board. I've always had and brought in a partner. I have done very little on my own.
Mhm.
Not that I don't mind doing things on my own, but I love doing things in partnership and I love sharing responsibility. I don't mind being responsible, don't mind making decisions. But maybe I don't always trust my judgment as being perfect at all times. So I've always liked to have a partner who is not someone that the worst I would like to think is you bring in a partner that's a yes person. I would happily fight, kick, scream, push my ideas, but I'd rather be doing it with someone who themselves takes responsibility for their own actions and either challenges, questions, or whatever. I've been very, very lucky in my life that a number of the business I started, I did it with a fantastic partner called Michael Carney.
Mhm.
And Michael was my business partner in a number of the businesses, and we rarely had a day that we didn't challenge each other in some way, shape, or form. But it was always with honesty, was always with respect. And I can't say we've ever had a falling out over our 30 years or whatever in business, but at the same time we didn't make it easy for each other, but it was really, really valuable. And what's probably brilliant about starting with a partner, running a business or starting a business can be a very lonely place.
Mhm.
And for anybody that's run a business on their own, if they are on their own, I think it's so important to bring on board a mentor, a coach that you have on tap to help you through some of those bigger decisions, to challenge some of those bigger decisions, and to have somebody at your beck and call, a right-hand man, a right-hand woman, a coach, a mentor. I think it's just enormously, enormously important in my view. And I'd hate to live without it. And even the businesses I've started my own, I quickly went out looking for someone that I could work closely with and I could trust and depend on, and also someone, whatever they were responsible for, that they took full responsibility for their actions in that regard as well. As I say, I didn't want a tick box merchant. I want someone to share the responsibility with me.
Fantastic, fantastic formula there, Ed. Um, and just moving on to what have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you started up in business?
So yeah, as an employer of people, first of all, I don't like playing boss.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever said to any employee that I've had, and we've employed over 6,000 people in the businesses that we've had.
Well,
But I don't think I've ever used the word "I'm the boss" around here. And I've often taken responsibility, but I don't play boss, and I don't like playing boss. I have business here at the moment. My office is out in the middle of everybody else, and I don't have a dedicated office myself. I don't like it. Now, of course, I have conversations that I want to have in front. I usually go out for a walk and have them, or go into a room to have them if I want a private conversation or whatever. But I don't, I like being part of a team. I like you working by example, give an example. And business, give an example is not only doing things like, being prepared to roll up the sleeves when it's needed. But it's also to show good work ethic. It should show responsibility, to show respect, um, to create a kind of a culture in terms of how we work together, and for people to see that. Um, to me, I think it's important, to treat people with respect in terms of when they come on board, that you are slow to hire them because you want to make sure that they really understand the values, the mission, the vision, the goals for the company, and you spend a lot of time making sure they fit into that. And you spend a lot of time, the term used today is onboarding people. And if anywhere during the process of either interviewing or onboarding, that either you or they feel either uncomfortable or the fit is not right, then don't go ahead with it. So be slow to hire in that regard. And equally, as slow you are to hire, be fast to let people go if they don't fit in. And I don't mean being mean or being whatever, but you know, you're doing someone a favor if you let them know that they're not the right fit, whether it's in the interview process, the onboarding process, the probationary period, or whatever. If it's not working, you're doing them a favor by saying, look, try something different. And so I'd be very much on for, as an employer, just work hard at creating the right team. And if they don't fit into that, then don't go ahead. And as painful as that is, because hiring and recruiting these days and onboarding these days is an expensive process, and it's a long process. And if it doesn't work, it's really painful if you have someone on board for 3 months and you find they don't fit. Bloody hell, it's a pain in the ass now to have to say, I'm going to go through this all again. But is it worth it? Absolutely. There's no question about it. So for me, I think that's quite important. But I do think good internal communication. You see lots of companies were brilliant at marketing outside, but you know what? Inside communication, internal marketing of who you are, what you're trying to achieve, what you're not trying to achieve. I think that's so important, and to make sure everyone is on board with it. So, you know, for me as employer, paying everyone that respect to make sure they know they're part of a team and are a very important part of a team, and to have a huge responsibility and authority to do their job within that team.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely getting that team right makes all the difference in the success or otherwise of a business. I suppose the other one, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business, or in your case, multiple businesses?
I suppose, look, I've always worked hard, and I love business. I just love it. I really enjoy it. I love new businesses. I love setting up businesses. And as I say, I think I've set up about at least 10 businesses. And then because they're franchises, I've helped about probably 70 or 80 people set up their business and continue to work with them and mentor them and whatever. So I love business people. I love entrepreneurs. I love people who take responsibility for their lives and their family income. And I admire them, because it's they that make the world go round, make the economy go round. And I don't think they get the respect sometimes, and certainly the adulation sometimes, that some of them have taken in terms of the hard work they've put in, the risks they have taken to make things happen, and to do what's good and right for themselves, their families, their communities. So I love that. But I think what's quite important for a business person starting out in business, regarding work-life balance, you know you're going to be working hard. You know you're going to be at sometimes have some sleepless nights in terms of getting the business off the ground. And sometimes, it's difficult to switch off when you move out. I'm been honest, from an overall point of view, I got much better at it, and maybe that comes with age. I don't think I was as good at switching off maybe 30 years ago. But now I kind of realize that the most important thing in my life is, myself and my relationship with my partner, with my family, with my kids. That's the number one thing in life. Having the health and wherewithal to enjoy life, to live with your family, your hobbies, whatever you're interested. And thereafter, work fits in thereafter. Works, in the end, work is a means to an end. It's not the end, and it's right. And it's great to be passionate about it, whatever. But in the end, it's a means to an end. And it's lovely to be passionate about it and focused on it. But I think it's important to know that in terms of work-life balance. The other thing I think is really important, Kevin, is that set the expectations with your wife, your partner, your kids, as to, if you're in business, to let them know, you know what, I won't be home before 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. I'll be getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I might have to take a Saturday off every month to go in and work on X or Y, Z. I think if you set the expectations right with the people around you, that you let them know, this is me, this is life, this is the business, and this is the expectation. And if you have to negotiate a bit, negotiate a bit, but then set that expectation and do it. Then you don't feel under pressure that you have to be home at 4:30 in the evening or 5 o'clock in the evening, or you have to do this. And I found that in life. I think you're better off setting the expectations as what's important, and what you're going to do and what you're going to have to do, and let them know from time to time, the SH1T might be hitting the fan, and you might have to put in a few heavy duty evenings or nights or whatever. And as long as, I think, a good partner, wife, kids, if they understand that and it's been properly communicated and all like that, I think they'll buy in as well and work with you. That's what I found.
Very interesting insight, Ed. Very interesting insight. Okay, and again, going back to the, yeah, I think you've touched on it already, but what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
I think one of the people I let go in some years ago, when I set up a business after running a kind of a complicated and difficult business. The next business I set up, I said, my God, I'm going to have fun in this business. That's the one thing I'm going to have in the business. I'm going to have fun. And I still work with that idea. Any business that I'm involved in, we're just going to have fun with it. And I remember one of the first people I hired in that business, she was quite good at her job, but unfortunately she was in a very pivotal position in a receptionist for a busy office. And God bless the poor girl, but she did not know how to smile, and she did not know how to have fun. And I let her go, not because that she wasn't capable of doing the job in terms of the technical element of the job, but she just couldn't get with it in terms of, creating that fun, enjoyable environment. And it just didn't fit. So to me, I love creating, and I suppose I like creating the culture of a fun culture, an enthusiastic culture, a positive culture, a learning culture, but also a culture that, everybody takes responsibility for their area. And even still, I love the little book called The 1 Minute Manager. And if anybody comes into me and say, look, what do you think about this idea? My first question back to them also is, well, what do you think? And then, what options do you think what one or two options would you have in dealing with? And if it's two, now which do you think is the best? And say, I think that's a great idea, and let them off and go and do it. And in other words, make sure they don't keep dumping the responsibility back to you. Let them take and let them know. I suppose that if you take responsibility, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. As long as we learn from it, off you go. I'm very much into setting up a business, and as soon as we set it up, to try and create a structure around it, create a system, create a process, and then plug in the right people and let them within that structure make decisions, take decisions, and make mistakes. And I let people know very often that I don't have a problem with mistakes whatsoever. And I let people know, and I actually even tell people, even when I make a mistake, God, I made a bags of that one. And I almost tell them. So in other words, I'm giving them permission to make mistakes as well. And to me, I talk about the fact that the man who makes no mistakes probably makes nothing else either. So just go ahead and make mistakes. Take responsibility. And I often say, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not working hard enough. So go do it. Take responsibility, take authority, and just go and do it. Look at what's the worst that'll happen if someone goes ahead and does something that they make a mistake. They've learned from it. We've learned from it. We've moved on a bit. And you know what? By allowing them to take responsibility and do something, you've handed them responsibility and authority, and you've given them the pride in themselves that they are allowed to grow and develop and whatever. So I just love a place that there's a lot of learning going on. There's a lot of curiosity, and I'm always, you know, I'm a pain in the butt to some people as well, because I'm always coming up with new ideas and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about the other? Can we do this? And I'm certainly encouraging of others to be similarly in the offices certainly that I've worked in.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, I love all of that. And I suppose maybe just to finish off, Ed, what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
I suppose if it's someone who hasn't run a business, or if it's someone that's outside the business world, or then probably most people who haven't done it do not understand how much hard work it is. They just don't understand. And I'm being honest, some people who have, even if they worked in a business in a 9-to-5 capacity, they don't really understand the risks that the founder has taken. They don't they understand the responsibility that the owner feels. They don't really understand the concerns, the worries that an owner has, and they really don't appreciate that until they're responsible for the whole, every part of it, from marketing to sales to client relations to the financial management to the profitability, to the making sure the business is sustainable, it's into the future, that it's future driven, all of that. I think until you're in the middle of it, you don't really get that. And most people don't appreciate the risks that have been taken, the responsibility that it puts on the shoulder of someone to employ people, to invest that money, etc. Lots of people genuinely don't appreciate that. I also think probably people don't appreciate, who haven't gone into business, they don't understand, as a misconception, they don't understand how hard sales and marketing is. Yes. Nobody quite appreciates how difficult it is to get a customer, to grow a customer, to maintain a customer. They really don't understand. And the concern I have today is probably the new generation. I think in so many ways, they think if I'm really good at my social networking and put it up on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, I get the customers, they roll in, they write the check or whatever, and all will be good with the world. I see marketing is important, but sales is equally important, and sales and marketing are two sides of the one coin. You can't just do marketing, you have to do sales. And my worry about, we've lost a bit of a culture, a sales culture in what's happening online today, for people to be able to make the phone call, organize the meeting, sit down with someone, do a presentation, close the deal, shake their hands and say, let's work together. That's not as prevalent today, and it's a bit of a concern for people to really appreciate what it takes to get a customer across the line. And I think that's really important. I'm also a believer that a good business, everything in a business is a system, is a structure, is an organization chart. And the more you can put structure and a system around your business to create it what is like a business, whether it's like a franchise, that's effectively a business in a box. It's a business concept with a system and a structure for doing everything pretty well in it, with the materials, the software, the sales and marketing system, the operations system, the IT system, whatever. How a lot of people don't appreciate that a good business is a systematic business, and you put a system in place, you put people into the system to make it work and whatever. I don't think they appreciate that, and how hard it is to make that work, and to be dynamic, that it's changing and upgrading at all times. I really, there's a great book called E-Myth by
Yes.
Patrick Gerber. And he talks about the entrepreneurial myth of a lot of people, whether they're a technician or carpenter or an engineer or whatever it is, to go into business and they do it. But they don't realize that a good business, you work on it, not in it.
Yep.
And the people that become really successful and scale the business and grow the business, it's not about their technical ability. You can hire the technicians, the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, the carpenters, or whatever. You can plug them into the system. And so therefore, I believe, I suppose a franchise is a great model to almost try and create around any business that's been set up.
Fantastic, Ed. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole wealth of knowledge and information and useful tips in there for our viewers. I really appreciate you taking the time to share all that with us today. So listen, great talking to you, and thanks again, Ed.
Take care. Thanks, Kevin.